Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our CLC Connection today for Human Services. This is our first in-person CLC since February 2020. So we're excited to have all of you in person and those who are with us virtually. My name is Ashley Roseborough, also known as the CLC Lady, and I will be your moderator for today's event. We are joined by a special guest who I'll be introducing momentarily. But before we get started, I did want to cover some housekeeping items for you all with us. If you are with us in person, feel free to ask questions out loud. We will connect with Paul. If you are virtual, please utilize the chat box. We have our wonderful peer mentor, Anna, monitoring the chat box, so she'll be able to ask your questions and we will answer them during this session as well. Also know that this is recorded, so if you are unable to make it right now or you want to re-watch this at a later time, this will be made available to you in a couple of days or weeks once we get everything finalized and edited. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Today, we are honored to have Paul Kristofer. Paul Kristofer is the CEO of Life Mission Project Network, a 501c3 nonprofit social service agency whose mission is to build great lives one person at a time. Mr. Kristofer discovered his initial passion for social service in 2001 as a part-time community youth worker while studying business administration at TSU. In 2014, he began a series of small community projects serving marginalized communities, which evolved into establishing an organization in 2019, serving aging adults 55 plus, children and adults with disabilities, the Life Mission Project. Welcome, Mr. Kristofer. How are you doing today?
Doing well.
Doing well. No problem, no problem. Before we get started, I did want to cover some icebreaker questions. So let's ready to get into it?
Sure, let's go.
Cool. What is your favorite word?
Access.
Access. Why is access the word for you?
I think at a point in life, I am pursuing access through all avenues. Access is very underrated. And I think we pursue a lot of other things in attempts to gain access, but sometimes we don't always get the access we want to whatever it is, whatever destination or goal or outcome we're pursuing, because we don't really realize it's access that we want, because we look at the path to get there rather than the destination. So just access. I'm focused on the destination, Yeah.
Awesome. Access is important, which is another reason why we are all joined today. The next question is, if you were on the Soul Train line, what 70s or 80s song would you want your song to be and what dance would you do?
So if I was on the Soul Train line, my dance would be, this is going to sound really, really funny, but the Funky Chicken.
Okay.
Yes. And I would have to say, I don't have a specific song, but anything by James Brown.
You can definitely Funky Chicken.
Yeah, he'll create a movie for you.
The Big Payback is my favorite song. So
really?
Yes, I just like the percussion, the bass, all that. It's real funky and I like funk.
So are we getting an impromptu?
No, not today. Not today. Well, Mr. Kristofer, you love service and you love serving the community. So do you mind sharing your educational background with us about who you are and what inspired you to journey into that career profession?
Sure. So I'm a native Houstonian. Attended all schools here in Houston, Texas, including Texas Southern University, where I studied administration. And I have some additional trainings here and there, but just picked up some courses here and there along the way, some other institutions, vocational institutions. And so, yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Okay. And why social service?
I think it's a calling. For me, it's a calling. I think that there are certain avenues or industries that a person can go into to make money, or to become established, or to create a certain type of life. And then I think there are certain avenues or industries that you really have to have the capacity to be effective in that. And social service is something that I've I tried to get away from it. I tried to get away from people, but I keep getting rerouted to social service in one way or the other, and I would get frustrated with programs and systems and companies that I worked for because of politics and bureaucracy and red tape and eligibility requirements. It became very frustrating to constantly work for avenues of industry that were supposed to be social service agencies, but they did not effectively meet the needs of the people who were the most marginalized. That weighed heavily on my conscience. And so, I kept leaving that and pursuing work that would allow me not to have to touch people. So I went into real estate and I went into, some financial areas where it's just a different type of thing. And, one thing or another would lead me back to another social service working position. And so at a certain point, I realized that my issue wasn't the social service. It was the companies that I was working for, because we were denying access to the people that really needed it. And I finally just kind of gave over to it and accepted, you were created for people, and that I have people that are assigned to me, and I have solutions. And so I had to figure out how to make those accessible to people, which ultimately led to me starting a competitive agency for the agencies that I work for.
Okay.
Kind of navigating around those challenges that I saw in those agencies. So
awesome. So Life Mission Project, it serves a need and it meets a need. Can you talk more about Life Mission Project and the work that you do and how you are meeting the need for those people in that community?
Definitely. So Life Mission Project Network, it's a network of social services. It is a combination of the target populations that I'm passionate about. When you're working in human services, social services, it's not something that you can just do. You have to have a connection to your work. You have to have a connection to your target population or the individuals that you're serving, or you risk being ineffective or, frustrating a part of the process. When working in social services, you literally have an opportunity to put a piece of a person's life together, to connect puzzle pieces that they may connect for themselves. So for me, Life Mission Project Network, we provide services to aging adults 55 and older, because I love elderly people. I love senior citizens. I have an old soul, I've been told. And I typically, so I got a witness in the room. I typically connect with people who are my senior, and not to do anything really other than just gain wisdom, and it starts with a conversation, one question, and then it just opens up access, for me to gain, wisdom, knowledge, understanding. So I love aging adults. So we provide services to aging adults. I love children. We provide services to children in less fortunate communities. And, the personal connection for me is that I grew up from the age of 7. My mother was a single mother. My parents divorced when I was 7. And so I grew up seeing a mother who worked multiple jobs if necessary to take care of me, to provide for the household, to make sacrifices and do whatever she had to do. So I have a special place in my heart for children who are less fortunate, who are marginalized. Thankfully, I was fortunate to never miss a meal, but there are many children and many families who do not have sustainable nutrition. So one of our target populations is, children, and providing sustainable nutrition solutions. And then lastly, individuals with disabilities. I remember being this was like before pre-K, okay? So pre-K, it was a daycare that I would go to during the day after elementary school. So I would get out of school and then, I'd go to this daycare, and wait there until my mother got off from work to pick me up. And I had a friend named Kevin. Kevin, I to this day do not know what his disability was because I was too young to know then. But Kevin had a red wheelchair, and I've never forgotten that red wheelchair. And I remember kids teasing Kevin, making fun of him. And there was something inside me, even at that age, that I didn't see a need to tease Kevin. You know, I thought his red wheelchair was cool. And so we made friends, and it kind of changed the dynamic of the other kids, you know, being willing to play with him. And then, you know, from then on, I always became a friend or an ally to the special kids in school. You know, they're labeled as special needs individuals. And in my opinion, they're some of the most gifted. So Life Mission Project Network, we're a network of social services. We serve aging adults 55 and older, children, and individuals with disabilities.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. And you sound very busy. You sound very busy. So what does a day in the office look like for you?
So we're home office right now, thankfully. But a day in my life, there are some things that are standard for me. For some of the services that we provide, we partner with other neighborhood and community agencies to provide those services. We also partner with certain agencies for some kind of services. Sorry. We partner with some community agencies to provide services to their customer populations. And then we also have contracting agencies that we contract with to provide some services. So between those three, a day in my life is I'm up anywhere between 4:30 and 5. Typically to the gym between 5:30 and somewhere between 5:30 and 6:30. I'm at the gym.
Okay.
I feel like a gym workout kind of gets you going for the day. And then after that, I'm back home sending emails, checking in on clients, checking in on work sites, and making sure that things are as they should be, and overseeing projects for expansion opportunities, which we kind of got something new we're working on.
Is it too soon to speak on?
It's not too soon.
Okay,
It's not too soon.
So we talked a little bit outside of the CLC about your curriculum development and everything. And it's because you serve so many different populations, it requires certifications.
Yes.
Do you mind discussing some of the certifications you've had to acquire? And then we can go into the contract you're working on right now.
Okay, sure. You know, unintentionally, like I said, I couldn't get away from social service and, you know, working with people. So my lane of social service is workforce development, and you know, specifically related to individuals with disabilities. One of the things that I'm proud to say is that we connect individuals with disabilities with worksite and employment opportunities. So within workforce development, National Workforce Institute provides a myriad of trainings. And so, you know, anytime you're at Workforce Solutions, I see one of my old coworkers in the room. And she can attest to the fact that, you know, we take several trainings, you know, everything ranging from engaging customers to the customer service process as it relates to workforce development and employment services, job placement assistance, pre-employment services. So in addition to the National Workforce Institute and being a workforce professional, I'm also certified with the University of North Texas as a job skills trainer, a workforce development director, and a job placement specialist. Yeah, so between University of North Texas and National Workforce Institute, quite a few trainings related to serving customers for employment goals.
So I'm writing down everything, and for our attendees today, we'll be sending out the links for each of these organizations to you to go towards our resource guide. You spoke to, you know, helping special populations get gainfully employed. You know, it adds to autonomy and everything. So what has been one of your most proud accomplishments, or something that you felt like, you know, this is why I'm here, that full circle moment for you in your career?
I think there are many things in life that we take for granted or we don't even consider if it does not intercede or impact our journey or our process. You know, there are things that you just don't think about because you don't know to think about. I've worked since I was 15 years old. So the concept of fill out an application, interview, get the job, it's not a foreign concept to me. I think one of the most rewarding or impactful experiences I've had is meeting individuals who are in their 20s, who have never worked. And multiple individuals have said to us, I never thought that I could work or that I would have a job, because they have had unsuccessful attempts at obtaining sustainable employment, or they just, they were part of cultural or family units that did not even encourage them to push the boundaries of their abilities because, oh, Jane is special, or, oh, Bobby can't do it. So to encourage those individuals and match them up with an employment opportunity, and to see them grasp concepts and learn their job description and master it, and it translate into long-term employment, that has been one of the most rewarding things.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
And to this contract that you're working on.
Yes.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay, so a new contract we're working on. Again, if you remember when I started this, I talked about when you're in human services, everything you do, in my opinion, should connect to the population that you serve, or the service you provide, in a way that it taps an area of passion and conviction for you. If you're not passionate about it, don't do it when it relates to social services, because we are making direct contact with individuals. We're given access to a piece of their life where we can either make it better or potentially make it worse. So my personal experience within my family and families connected to mine, I have met and even helped out with part of the journey for individuals with diabetes or diabetic issues. So we are currently in contract application to be approved to provide diabetes counseling for individuals who are newly diagnosed, may not be newly diagnosed, but are struggling with establishing life patterns and routines for successful and healthy habits and practices. There's a whole spectrum there.
Yeah.
Some people are proactive, and, they set their reminders for the medications and doctor's appointments. And then you have others who are possibly adjusting psychologically to this new way of life that they didn't ask for, and they can't change or can't escape, and it's just overwhelming for them. So this allows us to receive some funding to be able to help people navigate through those areas.
Congratulations. That's exciting, and adding another layer to what Life Mission Project does. With counseling, what roles in Life Mission Project are there available to work with your team?
So we of course, we're a nonprofit agency, so we have many opportunities to volunteer, in any of those areas. As it relates to the workforce development, we are also we can talk about this. So I've been in some conversations to consider opening up some internship opportunities to provide job skills training opportunities to individuals with disabilities, which would actually allow through the internship to go to work with that individual, to help them master the objectives of their job description, overcome whatever their challenges are, and assist them in creating a system of successful community so that they can move forward from that. And then, of course, that's also a staff position opportunity as well, or a contract position opportunity.
Congratulations, Paul. That is awesome. That internships for students is an essential part of their college career. It's pretty much the finish line for some. So to see that you are bridging that gap for those students who do have a disability, or who may feel like, what's next for me? You providing that closure, that seamless process for them. So that is exciting, and we look forward to seeing those positions and those opportunities you bring to students. And if you want to pass that our way, we are more than happy to help you in bringing that to fruition as well.
Definitely.
What are some skills juniors and seniors in college can develop now as they are preparing for a career in social services?
I think this is not only related to social service, but to life These are transferable skills. You know, time management is essential. You know that, I'm sure. You know, time management, and then I would say in human services, interpersonal skills and intrapersonal skills are very important. You know, and I would even say, and this isn't so much a skill, but just a suggestion, get to know yourself so well that you're comfortable getting to know other people.
Ooh, absolutely. Okay, self-awareness.
And your success coach can help you with all of that. Your success coach can help you with all of that. So if you have not scheduled an appointment with your success coach, a shameless plug, please do so. Please do so. Describe 3 things that have been most important to you in choosing a career.
Kind of already spoken to them: passion, conviction, and I would say capacity. Passion, conviction, and capacity. You know, your passion is why I want to do what I want to do, and the fact that I can't not do it. Your conviction is I have to do this with integrity, and I have to do it, you know, for everyone that's depending on me to do it. And then I would say, you know, those 2 really have pushed me quite far. Capacity, again, is a self-awareness thing. You know, in human services, it's very easy to want to save the world. You know, 9 times out of 10, you will always touch more people than you can effectively impact. And that has really helped me to designate my target populations so that I do not extend myself beyond my capacity. So know your capacity, get comfortable there, flank yourself with good people and a good working team, and then you can expand your capacity. You know?
It's a lot of heart space in which in choosing a career for yourself.
Human services, it's about people. You know, it has to be about more than just the money.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It has to be. And this.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a very humble reasons why you've chosen this, and something to consider for all of us as we choose our career paths and why we do what we do. And I hope that you all choose something from the heart in your career. The money will come. Your gifts always make room for you, and the money will come if you serve it faithfully. The favor will always find you. So that's just another shameless plug for that. And for all of our attendees in the audience today, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask Mr. Kristofer. We have one live. Adriel,
Yes.
go for it.
Continuing on the concept of capacity, how do you keep that in check as far as your personal and professional involvement with an individual?
Very good question. So it's a fine line. It's a fine line, especially because our target population is, as far as our workforce development, is individuals with disabilities. Much of the training that we go through about serving that population is about creating a sense of healthy community from a people first standpoint. So I would say one thing that has really helped me is to remember exactly what my role and my purpose or my assignment is in that person's life for what we're doing. You know, I'm here for workforce development. We may identify other issues or needs that they may have. If I can connect that to my resources through workforce development, then it's within my capacity. But if it's not, then I don't assume any guilt because that's not the lane that I have the capacity to handle.
Understood.
So I would say just, you know, really focus on the reason for your connection to that individual.
Thank you.
Anna, do we have any questions in the chat?
Not yet.
Okay. Anybody else had any questions before we move forward?
Good chat.
Awesome. Okay. Speaking back to, having a balance, and you spoke earlier that you wake up at 4:30, which is entirely too early. How do you navigate work-life balance?
That can be a little tricky at times too, because I love what I do.
Okay.
So I have to intentionally pull myself away from it.
Mhm.
I was telling someone recently, when providing meals to children, again, they're some of the most marginalized. Some of them are part of households where there are undocumented parents, or there's limited to no English spoken in the home. And so, you can just kind of imagine what that dynamic is like. And seeing the children, eating a hot meal before they even go home, or, they recognize our vehicles or our uniforms, when we show up and they're running, from playing soccer or doing whatever they're doing, because they know we come at this time, they know where we are. And then even making friends, to giving us menu recommendations on what they do and don't like. So it's hard to pull yourself away from that, because I love it, but I've done this long enough to know that you can experience burnout even doing what you love, because of capacity. You can only do so much. So my balance is in activity. I love going to the gym. The gym is my therapist. It never judges me. It always listens. Yeah, and the challenges make me look better. So, the gym is my therapist. And then I also have a therapist, that talks back to me and, gives me homework assignments and, suggestions, and listens to me. I've recently gotten into bike riding.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like to travel, but it's COVID. So I travel around on my bike.
Have you invested in the bike yet?
No.
Okay.
No, I just found one last week that I like.
Okay.
So I'm thinking about getting a bike. I'm so lame. I've been, doing the downtown bike rental. And I go meet up with the people, and they're like, "Oh, he has a rented bike." You can tell. They don't say it, but they kind of look like, like, I gotta get a bike. But it's fun.
All right. Favorite place to ride your bike at this far?
I would say through the Third Ward area.
Okay.
Through Third Ward area. I'm gonna age myself now. We ride down Emancipation. I remember when it was Dowling. There you go. So we ride around Third Ward. I like that area. If y'all couldn't tell, I'm a Black man. And so, Third Ward is historically where a lot of your Black richness is in the city of Houston. Not to shade Acres Homes, because I am proud to be from Acres Homes on the north side of Houston, but Third Ward is my favorite. It's so much cultural richness, and so many different dynamics to people of color. Okay. And I think you get a great exposure to that in that part of Houston.
Awesome. Longest bike ride?
14 miles.
Ooh, okay. We have questions from the audience, right?
Yes. What challenges do you think are on the horizon for people going into social service and during this time of COVID-19?
Awesome question.
I would think the most obvious challenge is creating your own. So this is key. Be your own solution to the problems. One of the things that really was a catalyst for Life Mission Project Network was, like I said, these problems working for other people doing the same thing I do now. But we weren't serving the people. And so I created the solution. I became the solution, where I was in a position to alleviate or avoid or circumnavigate, that process, of eligibility or whatever case. So, I think the obvious challenge is going to be COVID, working remote. Thankfully technology has helped us quite a bit with that. but coming up with more innovative ways to still serve your client population, I think is going to be the most, the most obvious thing that we're going to continue to deal with until this goes away.
Awesome question. Virginia?
I have a question. Can you expound on, you said that you were working with other people who were posting in communities in the service industry, but they weren't serving people, which made you simply be like, you're not doing it, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try to do it. So once you decided to go ahead and try to do it, what were the things that you alleviated? You didn't use this term, but cut through the red tape, or simply for you, and it's your own organization not having any red tape. What were those things that you didn't take with you that they were doing but not doing? Does that make sense?
I understand perfectly.
Okay.
Great question.
So I won't say where I was.
You don't have to.
Right,
Okay.
but the main issue and anything that stemmed from it, it all pointed back to eligibility and suitability. Eligibility and suitability were two concepts that we, eligibility is pretty much black and white. There's a list of criteria, either you meet it or you don't. Suitability is more so about a conversation and presenting your story the right way so that the listener, which in my case, was the employee or the person on the other end, determines whether or not we should move forward with applying for said services or said assistance. So I won't even go far into the suitability piece because people listen. People hear different things. And sometimes it's shaded by prejudices or preconceived ideas. A person can be judged by their appearance before you even hear their story, and you're already determining their suitability. As far as the eligibility piece, I didn't agree with all of the criteria. It's income-based, which, in social services, they're trying to create a standard to determine who is in the most need, who has the greatest need of this. But I never met any eligibility criteria, but I had needs growing up. And so again, that passion, that conviction, I can identify with the person who doesn't look the worst on paper, but doesn't have a good enough situation to help themselves. So the red tape that I cut through was redefining what eligibility looks like. Eligibility primarily for us at Life Mission Project is based on your need. It's based on your need. And then of course, because we still do need funding, I had the ability and the authority now to determine which funding we would like to receive and which funding we do not. There are certain funding entities that I don't care to apply for that because I know what their eligibility looks like. And I know that the decisions were made by people who sat in the office but never sat at the desk. They never had firsthand accounts with these individuals, but I've worked with these people. I've been these people. These people are in my family. So, the eligibility, red tape, cut through it, and I've redefined my eligibility. So number one is based on your need. For our aging adults, my personal opinion, if you live to be a senior citizen in 2021, I feel like you've paid your debt to society. It's not about your character. It's not about your faults. It's not about your accomplishments. You have paid a debt to society because you've lived here long enough. And I feel like there's just a residual wisdom in aging adults that you can only get good coming back to you if you put good out. And so, for aging adults, if you're 55 and older and you live in an independent living apartment complex, you could potentially be one of my clients, and it's a privilege to serve them. We don't charge for any of the services that we provide. Children are children. They don't ask to come here. They don't ask for the conditions that they live in. And so I feel like they need the assistance that they get. And again, dealing with a contracting authority, if we get approved by our contracting authority to serve that complex, then it starts with sustainable nutrition, hot meals free Monday through Friday during the school year. But then it could go from there because I have so many resources in my mind from working in this so long that it may turn into a referral for something else. And the same thing with individuals with a disability. If you got a disability, I want to work with you. I want to put you to work. You know, I want to help you go to work. Let me redo your resume. You know, anything. You know, do you have an elevator speech? You know, what do we? You know, so did I answer your question? You know, it was pretty much eligibility and sustainability. That was the real red tape, and it bothered me. It bothered me to sit at a desk with people that look like me. I heard their stories. They had legitimate needs, but I have to tell them, we can't serve you because you're not qualified for what I know you qualify for.
When you would say that, what was usually the qualification? Was it the suitability or something, the eligibility?
So I didn't say it.
No, but I'm asking you to say it now because you're not there anymore. You're not.
Okay. So tell me, because back then I was an advocate. I was an internal advocate for those people, and I would listen. We're gonna write this. We're gonna write this assessment. And because I worked in the system long enough, I knew how to prepare things for my clients without bending the rules, but how to extract the necessary components to validate or to show or present the need that they had. So your question is, as it relates now?
No, as it related then, well, it's still now because that's still going on,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So then, when you were sitting behind the desk and you were looking at people and you heard their stories and you could see that they absolutely had a need, a genuine need, that they weren't trying to milk the system,
Mm-hmm.
right? But because of the criteria that had been set by whatever organization you were working with, that's why you really made your own,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you find when you had to say you're not eligible, did you find that it was more of the, what you call it, suitability, and did you find that it was more eligibility or the suitability, meaning you're not suited to get there?
So in my case, and I can only speak from my perspective,
Absolutely.
so we had to create an initial assessment narrative based on that suitability conversation. I never missed on suitability. I could put a case note in, you know. So if I ever had to tell someone no, it was because we got the response back based on eligibility. And before I would just tell that person no, I'm re-examining that initial assessment, our initial conversation, that suitability talk, to see what in those strategic questions might I be able to pull to go a different route for eligibility before I just turned them away. I did pretty good with my numbers. Yeah, I did pretty good with my numbers. And my role was what you call this might be indicating something. My role was a personal service representative. So I had ongoing case management. We provided financial aid for a school. We dealt with client populations that received public assistance like TANF. So it was ongoing case management. It was case notes in the system. It was ongoing suitability conversations. So you get to hear enough about a person's story and their life. And if you know your company and your business well enough, then your mind is automatically connecting to, and that's just another thing. Know your business so well. Whether you're working for yourself or someone else, know it so well that you know how not to get a no.
So you're thinking about that?
That's-
Yeah.
Would you say knowing your business well enough would be part of the capacity concept?
No.
No.
I would say that capacity is more so just what you're able to do.
Okay.
I would say knowing your business is just a matter of your personal conviction. My thing was, it tore me up to hear and identify a person's legitimate need and then have to send them away, only to come back a month later in a training and discover there was something in the list that I didn't know that we could have used for that person.
Okay.
And it's because I didn't read enough, or I didn't research enough, or I didn't study enough, or know my materials enough. It got to the point where my supervisor and I would have meetings in our center manager's office because I would get instant no's to things that would not even get approved to get submitted. But because I knew so well that this can get approved and we can provide this for this customer, you know, I would challenge it, you know. No, I'm sorry, we're not gonna submit that. Okay, I'd like to request a meeting. You know.
I'd like to speak to the manager.
Right.
Karen.
Right, and I'm taking this matrix, you know, that has all this information we all have access to. You know,
All right.
Awesome
it.
question, awesome
Mhm.
question.
What advice would you give to someone who has a great idea for a service/business, but has no background in business to get started?
I would say, before getting started, to identify a mentor or mentors who are successfully working in that avenue of business or that industry. Mentors for me have become an invaluable resource.
So almost like somebody who goes and shadows a doctor.
Shadows a doctor or is able to talk to a doctor,
Mhm.
or, you know, if it's the medical field,
Mhm.
ask those questions, get
Okay.
advice. There are so many things that I've learned from my mentors, and I don't have many, but, you know, I have a small circle of mentors, my tribe of elders, that I go to them and I say, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Or I'll say, this is what I want to do. Or I'll say, I want to serve these people. And then, you know, they come back with the questions. Well, how are you going to do it? How are you going to do that? I don't know. Have you tried this? Have you considered that? You know what I mean? It's that wealth of wisdom, you know. So I would say, if you don't have the formal education, you know, firsthand accounts of people who have mastered it, you know, get you a subject matter expert and you do what you have to do to make them want to pour into you. You know, I think it's sometimes we get turned away because people don't initially want to be bothered with us right away. And that's, you know, if a person is busy, if they're successful, they may see it as a liability. You know, it's too much on my time. I don't have time to, you know what I mean? So then if you really want success, you have to reconfigure your life to get access to what you see to be the most valuable. You know, one of my mentors doesn't live here. So anytime, you know, it's, hey, catch a plane, I'm there, no matter what I have to do. If it's, hey, I'm coming to Houston to take care of some business, you know, hey, whatever time, I'll move whatever around because I never know what's going to be said in that conversation that could enhance what I'm working on.
So this is where the skill of networking and interpersonal skills comes into play, really hardcore.
Definitely. Yes, you must be willing to network. And you know, so crazy. I tell people I'm an introvert. You know, I'm an introvert by choice. You know, I'm a homebody. Listen, I can sit at home. You know, I got Netflix, HBO Max, Stars, Disney, BET Plus, you name it, you know, and the kitchen is stocked, you know, but I understand the importance of being in the room. And because of one of my uncles, I understand the value of presence. You know, don't just be present, but, you know, have a presence in the room, so that, you know, something sticks out and you can make the connection you want to.
Absolutely. Brenda.
Could that be applied to someone who does not know what they want to do after college? Like, I know kind of what I want to do. I'm going for psychology, but afterwards, I have no idea. I just know I want to help people like with trauma, with past experience, but I have no idea what to do after. Like, could networking be very helpful?
Definitely.
Since I have no idea what to do.
Definitely. You never know where you'll make the connection. You never know where you'll make the connection that connects to your purpose or your passion. We met at something not related to college, not related to even either of the things that we do. You know, I was there because my company partners with the agency hosting the event. You know, to this day, I don't know why you were there, but I know we were supposed to be there.
I volunteer for the organization that partners with the organization you partner. Yeah.
See,
I'm so random.
No, you're not. No, not at all. You know what I mean? But again, that whole presence thing, you know what I mean? When you open yourself up just to go, just to be there and to be present in that moment, you never know how it'll happen. You know what I mean? We had a surface introduction at that event, then we ended up at the next event together.
Mhm,
And then a group of us went out to eat after that.
mhm.
And it wasn't until the second event at the dinner after the event that was so unplanned. We end up sitting next to each other and she says, hey, didn't you tell me you do? And I'm like, yeah, then we talk more about it. You see what I'm saying? So networking, you know, definitely, you never know what'll happen. And Houston is a great city for that.
Absolutely,
Houston is a
absolutely.
great, because there's something going on everywhere all the time. Art exhibit. I mean, it could be something you're not even interested in or just a hobby that may attract someone else that is connected to your purpose.
So basically just get out of your comfort zone.
Yes, yes.
You have to. In human services, you have to.
Yeah.
Brenda, to add to that, I want to work in a population that serves Black and brown LGBT plus youth. So what I did last year was I researched some organizations in Houston and sent an email saying, I have clothes that I'm looking to donate. Can you point me in the right direction? It took me 6 months before I got a response back. And in that, since that time, I became a part of that organization that I volunteer for regularly. So sometimes it's just a matter of, this is what I'm interested in. This is the need. How can I show up and, you know, bridge that gap? With psychology is so broad,
Yeah.
you know, so getting out there and getting out your comfort zone and just going towards things that interest you, then the rest of the path will reveal itself. But you have to start somewhere.
Yeah. I think
it-
that's hard. Starting is the hardest point.
Yes, starting is the hardest part.
Start.
But if you know you want to serve people and you know that there's a need in your community for it, that desire, that fire should supersede the fear to start.
Absolutely.
So wherever it may be, it could even be within the ATA program. We are all connected. Knock on the door. That's how most of my opportunities came about, is just knocking on the door saying, this is what I want to do.
Wow.
Is there a space for me to do it? And there 9 times out of 10 always is. And if it's not, you create it. Adriel.
That pretty much answers what I was going to ask. As far as going to the anxiety behind it, because I understand it's always taking that first step,
Mhm.
wanting to come out of your comfort zone. But that's the reason why it's called like getting out of your comfort zone, because you're not comfortable with taking that first step.
Absolutely.
So where would you go from there? What tips and tricks would you do to take that first step? And it's exactly what you just answered, just finding something that you're passionate about, following through it, and if it doesn't go through, either knock other doors down or, you know, build your own path.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we live in a world of technology, and email goes a long way. A well-drafted email goes a long, long way. Tell them your name, tell them your degree, what you want to do, or your area of interest. Have your resume. Ask if there's any opportunities for you to get involved. A lot of times it will come with rolling up your sleeves and doing free labor. Free labor ain't fun. Trust me, I know.
Yeah, pay your dues.
But you do have to pay your dues, and you realize that you're getting so much more out of it than what you're getting. People know your name now. People can speak to your work ethic. People can speak to your passion, and that will open doors a lot more than what an interview can do, a lot more than what other things can do. So start with an email, if anything. Now back to you, Chris.
Listen, I need something to take notes, you know what I'm saying?
We do have a little bit over 30 more minutes left. We still have questions coming in. Perfect. Let's keep it rolling.
What advice would you give to somebody who, when they say they want to go into human services, everybody tells them, well, that's going to be really hard? That's a great question.
Okay, so first, the answer to that is they're absolutely correct. Secondly, my advice is nothing worth having comes easy.
Yes.
Yes. You know, I never understood where difficulty or challenge equated into not doing what you wanted to do. You know, if you decide to do nothing, you still gonna get met with some challenges through the day. You know what I mean? I was on top of my stuff more than I needed to be today. you know, and I put my card in. Now, mind you, I'm no stranger to downtown. Okay? And there's a meter reader right now with my card in the cash slide.
Oh, no.
Like, you know, I know better. You know what I mean? So I said that to say the challenges come. The challenges come, but you know, what is a challenge? You know, I think that you have two ways to look at it. You know, a challenge can be the thing that handicaps and paralyzes you, or it can be the catalyst that motivates you and pushes you, you know, become defiant.
Absolutely.
Every no deserves a yes,
Yes.
you know, so yeah.
And then also I just have virtual comments saying, this guy is awesome and somebody else agrees. Just so you should know that.
I told y'all was gonna love Mr. Kristofer. I told y'all.
That's all I got right now, though.
Ms. Phillips?
I have a comment when you spoke to challenges. Has there been a time that after you put in all the work, you say, I'm gonna say with one of your group, not necessarily the children, but has there been a time that you couldn't help an individual based on their lack of commitment to success or putting in the necessary work?
Yes. Yes.
What do you do?
So, you know, there is a by the book process to providing. Well, I'll speak to both. So excluding the children, but aging adults and with the children. So with our aging adults, there are less guidelines and stipulations, less red tape, right? You have some aging adults that, from our perspective, need the help, need the assistance, but they just don't want it. So first of all, you have to respect that person's position on their life. Now, to go over to the workforce development piece with the individuals with disabilities, you know what I mean? There's a broad spectrum of disabilities, first of all. And so, you know, some individuals function at different levels. So some who are considered to be your more high functioning individuals. Now, this is what I found interesting. Individuals that are classified not on the higher end of functioning, they tend, in some cases, they've done very well. They've done very well in maintaining that sustainable employment. But I've had a few challenges with some of my clients who were classified by other entities as being high functioning, that they would be what we consider to be normal. You know what I mean? That you wouldn't, you know, you would never consider. You cannot account for a person's point of view or a person's perspective. Who a person is right now, today, in this moment, is the total sum of all their life's experiences. Employment is just a small piece of that. Giving a person a job solves the issue of sustainability, of, you know, financial solvency and financial stability, but it doesn't address all the other issues that they may have going on in their lives. And so, you know, at the core, we, you know, as part of our core values, we believe that every individual deserves to be served as an individual. That's one of our core values. And so that means that we don't prioritize our service and our perspective of what you need above what you identify to us that you want for your life. It's a concept, you might remember this, called appreciative inquiry. You know, a lot of times in human services, we can easily serve a person based on our assessment of their needs. But the most effective service is based on getting to know a person's explanation and identification of their needs. So you only become frustrated when you want for a person what they don't want for themselves. So if we have an initial conversation and I ask you, do you want to work? Which is one of my first questions. And they tell me yes, I'm gonna do everything in my power to get them employed. If at some point, after we have provided them the necessary tools to be successful in their employment, they, you know, a dysfunction shows up somewhere and it's not successful, then we have to respect that that was part of their preference.
One other question.
Go for it.
How does a person connect to you? How do they find you after they've heard no based on various reasons about eligibility or, you know, whatever? How do they find out that you exist? How do they find you?
Well, you know, the competition isn't going to send them my way. How
do they know you exist?
Right. So, you know, that's actually one of the challenges that we're working to overcome right now. Social media marketing and advertisement is huge right now. That is where I would say one of the areas where we still need more development, as a brand overall. But then because of the agencies with which we contract, a lot of times individuals are referred directly to us. In addition to that, we're partnering with agencies like the one that Ashley mentioned, that have access to clients for what they provide, but they don't provide employment assistance. So then they say, we want to partner with you to be an employment arm to our clients. Right. So, word of mouth has been working great for us, and then, partnership and contract referrals.
Other questions from the audience. These are wonderful, wonderful questions. Y'all keep them coming. And we're happy to answer them. Virginia.
You said one of the first questions you ask people when they come to you is, do you want to work? And they're like, yes, I want to work. And you put them up, give them a job, and they work. Right? Because we can't see everything that one's life entails. You spoke about that once they start working, if something else comes up or something else happens, and you didn't use the word, you used a gesture. I just wanted you to kind of fill that. Let's say they're at the job, they don't meet the probation, right? And the organization doesn't want to fire them, but there is a problem, and they bring it to your attention. And the person does come back and talk to you, but when you start to find out there are other things, other variables in the individual's lives that's making it difficult for them to function day to day or simply keep the job, right? Do you connect them with resources to help them? Is that what the network part about your life mission project is all about?
Yes. So, again, capacity, we can't do it all. I have, had the privilege through my employment journey to discover a lot of resources and agencies that provide things that we do not. So I think that's the first part of answering that question. But then additionally, another thing that I saw was an issue is with my previous employment, we may do a resume for you. We may provide a job lead and tell you to go apply, you out the door, and you apply, you get the job. Maybe you come back and tell us, maybe you don't, maybe you keep it, maybe you don't. As part of my professional networking, I develop employment opportunities. So I don't just look for companies that are hiring. I may have a conversation with an owner or a director or someone, in that leadership structure, that they may have an opportunity for employment or they may not. But through that conversation, one is created and an opportunity is given specifically to my client. I know the clients that I have, so I'm specifically developing a job opportunity with a client, a specific client in mind. I know their challenges, I know their issues, so I can have a conversation with that employer from a very general standpoint about what is your perspective on hiring an individual with A, B, C, D? Are you open to this? Are you not open to that? So that we increase those chances of sustainable employment and, long-term employment. Yeah. That was one of my issues, because a lot of times people just settle for a job because they need a check.
Yeah.
They're not happy, they're not successful, they're miserable, or they end up leaving, or it becomes a revolving door of employment in their life where they're just going from job to job, from job to job, from job to job. And again, human services, individuals with disabilities. I can't play with that part of a person's life just because I'm making money on the back end by putting in the work. The money isn't worth that much.
Yeah.
This is a piece of a person's life, And one of the things that I say, if you give a person sustainable employment, you change the dynamic of their life.
Absolutely.
You give them independence, they get a new confidence, you know, in addition to financial stability. You know what I mean? When you have money, everything, you know, problems, you know, pain doesn't hurt as bad when you have money, you know what I mean? It's just, you know, you heal a little quicker, you know what I mean? It's just, you know what I mean? When you know I can pay my bills, or I can take care of this, I can do that. And so, yeah, I'm very intentional about that initial conversation. So my client is not only the job seeker, but my client is the business owner or the business entity as well, because I'm training this employee for a specific role and I am conditioning this employer for a specific employee.
So instead of you seeing a need, you're finding a need and filling it at the same time.
If you create a need and you become the solution, no one can ever limit your productivity.
That's always yes.
So COVID, working remote, those things don't impact me. No, it's the need is there. You know what I mean? You just have to decide how you're going to identify it and then become the solution. You know what I mean? And that's going to come with challenges, going back to that question. That's going to come with people who are connected to you, who don't believe in you, not because they don't believe in you, but they don't believe it because they can't see it. They can't imagine it. You know what I mean? It's not coming together for them the way, and even explaining it to them, they won't get it. You know what I mean? But once it's here, you have everything you need to bring it here, to bring it into materialization. You can, so.
Wonderfully said.
Mhm.
I'm just taking it. I'm taking it all. Yeah, I'm taking it all
That's
in.
right.
I'm sorry. What about an individual who may see themselves in a certain type of environment,
Mhm.
and through your working with them, you find out, or I guess your initial, talking with them, that that's really not where they need to be or where they may be possibly able to go. How do you kind of help them redirect their, or I don't want to say get them to see that what they're looking for is not really, may not be, I guess I should say, may not be realistic in a way, say, due to lack of education, and they're looking for something, that requires this, that they can't get it without that degree or something like that. How do you help them see that maybe we need to crawl before we walk, or, kind of redirect?
Some of my frustrations in life were the result of people knowing the truth, but deciding how they gave it to me, and it wasn't the best way for me to apply it. So in the context of what I do, there's always a very realistic conversation. For one, there's a job description. There are requirements. If you don't meet those requirements, then they're requiring so many years of experience, a certain level of degree, and you don't have that, then it's kind of an open and shut. But that's a conversation that I'll have, to let them know, okay, well, this is what they require. To kind of form the answer to that a little bit more, I think I deal with that mostly with individuals with criminal backgrounds. That's mostly what I deal with. I have, I've served a client with a master's in a certain field who will not ever be able to work in that field again because of an issue, a criminal background issue. And you have to know when to be personal and know when to be professional. Personally, my heart breaks because I know what she invested into getting to that level of education. But professionally, I do a disservice to her and that employer by suggesting to her, well, just go apply for it anyway. And then, what is the liability? What is the potential risk? If she applies for that and she continues to get no after no after no, when I knew
Yeah.
going in, you know what I mean? Now it's more than a professional issue because this could affect our confidence. It could affect our motivation. You know, there are people who apply for one job and just lose the wind in their sail. We're here to build people up, improving lives one person at a time. So, you know, sometimes it's just a hard conversation. You know, you may have to take an entry level job. I understand that you've invested so much into, you know, the years that you put into getting this educational credential. And this is not to take anything away from that, because, you know, who you became in earning that, no one will ever be able to take that from you. However, you know, the requirements for the job just will not, you know, there, you know, issues that we won't be able to get around. And I've had pretty good success. Yeah, it's all in how you talk to people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's an easy way to tell hard truths.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you mind sharing some of the professional organizations students can get involved with?
Yes. So without being too specific, I'll say you should always, well, let me not say always, but I would recommend researching Chamber of Commerce, chambers of commerce. There are many different types that are established with many different, you know, with a different focus in mind. Especially in this area, you know, in you know, downtown central Houston, there are many, but in every part of Houston, there are different, you know, and then there are national chambers of commerce as well. And then I would say anything related to, you know, if you are going into human services, there are local and national social work organizations, you know, that you can research and see what the focus is and what they're, you know, if it's something that you want to connect to or not. You know, I'm open to connect with all kind of, you know, it could be Asian American Chamber of Commerce, and, you know, I listen, you know, I'm not Asian American, but, you know, I'm sure we connect some kind of way, you know, if they let me in, you know, it doesn't matter to me. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Anna?
How can I learn to postulate like you? What kind of advice would you give?
I think I know who that
That is
came from.
a Jack question.
Oh, well, I have to admit that I am far from being the smartest person on earth. I don't know what postulate means, but if it's what I've been doing here, I would say that reading, research, and I would say pursuing conversation with people who intimidate you. I'm always trying to be in a room or a space where I feel like I know the least. I'm the least qualified. Because a lot of times our preconceived notions about prejudices are self-imposed. And people don't think half about us what we think about ourselves. You know, and they're so open to share and open to talk to you, and, you know, and a lot of times we think and talk ourselves out of those spaces. So challenge yourself to be uncomfortable.
I think that's how we met. We had this conversation because I asked you why you were why you were hanging out with us.
You did.
I did.
You
I
did. You did.
I was like,
Yeah.
and now it makes sense. So, you know.
I was even uncomfortable in that conversation because I was like, oh, I don't do well with questions. I like to control the conversation. You know, so I also consult on the side. Well, not on the side, but I'm a consultant as well in certain avenues. I'm an inspirational speaker in certain avenues. And so all of those things are so much easier for me because there's a script, or even with consulting, there's a subject matter we're discussing. There was a process of preparation, and I'm just providing the information and the steps to get you to a certain outcome. You know, but we sitting at the table in some Paul. Here we go. You know, but I'm glad we did.
Absolutely, absolutely. You mentioned research and reading. Do you have some book recommendations? Thank you, thank you.
Because the majority, so the majority of my reading content has been related to vocational topics, topics dealing with matters of spirituality, self-improvement, things of that nature, even theological. I'm looking at books right now in my house, but I'm drawing a blank. I'm looking at books as we speak, like literally in my mind, I'm seeing books on the, yeah. I don't, let's come back to that.
Okay, do you have a favorite book that you could recommend? Like The Four Agreements, The Alchemist,
This
Seven
is-
Powers of Law.
I do not recommend that book.
Really?
Oh.
48 Hour Fever, no, definitely not.
Okay.
We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So do you believe in the law of attraction, since we're talking about books and arguments have been talked about, a bit about the law of attraction?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I'll leave it at that. I
Safe.
What is the law of attraction? I have no idea what that is. Like, what is, like, is it just you in a place and you're just being drawn to someone to either have a conversation or
Yeah.
am I just having a blonde moment right now?
No, you're good.
do. Not at all. So there is, see, she knows.
I know he's just like, how did
There are
this
certain
conversation come
avenues,
about?
This is
So what we
outside
can do is we
conversation.
can wrap up the CLC if we don't have any
What
further
do they
questions
want to know
related.
too?
Oh.
Okay, so let me say
I
this.
do want you and
Okay.
Sandra to sit and eat and connect with the students outside of the event as well.
So,
Okay.
in my vocational speaking, there are certain avenues that connect very heavily to spirituality and theology, right? And so I'm sometimes challenged with certain questions to not mix the two.
Your faith. and-
Oh, okay,
Exactly.
okay.
Not that I have an issue with it, because I mean, I'm very comfortable in my conviction. It's just that, I try not to mix the two, because for me, a lot of times my explanation of concepts that are presented, maybe not in church or disconnected from church,
Mhm.
I still have a very theological explanation for it. And so I try not to push theology lest I end up preaching at University of Houston downtown.
So I do have a question about that, because we have talked about your vocational work and the work that you do serving people. How do you separate the two? Because, conviction and
Mhm,
passion and your
mhm.
beliefs and humble service and everything like that. How do you separate the two?
So we're going there.
Yes. If we're gonna end it on anything, we have to end it on something that speaks to you and how we connected, because this is similar to the question that I asked you when I met you.
Right. So there's actually not a separation for me. There's not a separation for me. I think my foundational statement is everything that I do in life, I do because of who I am in God and who God is in me. So I don't separate it in terms of my motivation and my fuel for doing what I do and serving the way I serve. The separation comes for me in respecting every person that I meet to the degree that I don't have an expectation for them to necessarily believe or think the way that I do, so that I serve them without prejudice or discrimination.
That is hard.
It's appreciative inquiry.
It is. We
I
talked
mentioned
about,
that, yeah, it's appreciative inquiry. So, this concept of appreciative inquiry, it is, it simply stated, it's the idea that I can't know what's best for you. Only you can tell me what is best for you. And I have to serve from a perspective of what you identify as your hierarchy of needs. So just because a person is homeless and under a bridge, my mindset says they need food because food is important to me. But I may encounter that person, and if I never have a conversation with them, I may get them food and they may throw it on the side of the ground or not eat it, you know, because in their mind, there was something else that was more important. You know, appreciative inquiry in the way we serve is not about my value system. It's about your value system and me valuing you enough as an individual to learn your value system and then give you what you tell me you need.
Paul Kristofer, everybody. All right, does anybody have any last questions before we wrap up? We have about 12 more minutes. We were going to take this, I don't have any questions. Does the online audience have any questions? Okay, cool. Well, Paul, thank you so much for your time, for taking the time to connect with the ATA program, with our students here, and being a part of our ATA family. You are now stuck with us, just to let you know.
Y'all are stuck with me.
And that is fine.
I was on good behavior.
That
right?
is fine too. We've had a couple of students who have been wanting to connect with you maybe offline.
Okay.
And we're going to use the rest of this time to do so. But for all of our online audience, how can we get connected to you?
So the easiest way is to go to Life Mission Project Network's website. It is www.lifemissionproject.org. From there,
Okay.
see what it is you want to do.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Paul, it's been a pleasure again. Thank you for everybody. Thank you everybody for joining us this afternoon for our CLC Human Service event. My name is Ashley Roseborough. Next week, we have our interview presentation CLC with the Main Career Center next door on September 28th. And then that goes into our boot camp series for preparing for jobs. And then on October 5th, we have our accounting and finance CLC with Donna McIntosh from ORIC. If those who are interested in pursuing a career in accounting and finance, please join us then. As always, thank you guys for your time. It is a pleasure to serve you. I hope that you all are well. Stay safe, take good care. Peace. That part.
And I gotta thank Miss Sandra Deaver. Mrs.
Yes.
Sandra Deaver for coming.
Ms. Sandra Devers is a workforce specialist expert.
Yeah, she's a certified workforce expert through National Workforce Institute. She has decades of workforce development management and experience, and she's heading up my Workforce Development Advisory Council.
Awesome, awesome. So this is an opportunity for all who are here to continue to eat, fellowship a little bit, and network. So see y'all soon. Bye, everybody.